wouldn't be the first prediction that you've got wrong.
No, but the problem is, Matt, this is where you're buying into the mainstream, the fake news. People don't TikTok you. People don't make those things when you're correct. They only make them when you're not correct.
It's true.
So, for example, when I've spoken about Aston Villa having a really good season at the beginning of the year, when I've spoken about the brilliance of Morgan Gibbs-White, nobody's TikToking that.
I think it's more the intensity and the certainty and the passion in which you deliver,
Mate.
inimitably in your own style. I think it's the conviction that you give it with that maybe comes back to bite you.
Because I was convinced. I don't know what more I was totally convinced. I believed that Arsenal were going to get battered. We've seen it before. The justification for my assertion that was wildly wrong. I think that the reasoning and the way that I got to my answer, I think that it was sound. It was true. It was tried. It was proven. We have lots of case studies of Arsenal being pitiful in Europe. We have lots of case studies of Arsenal being comparable to a 3-pin plug in Europe.
What does that mean, a 3-pin plug? As in you wouldn't take one of those plugs to Europe?
As in, try and plug that in in Europe.
Okay.
And see how far you get.
Yeah,
that would be Arsenal.
Declan Rice provided him with the adapter, Rory.
He did. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, Declan Rice deserves the praise. Of course he does. He was the match winner. He deserves all of the acknowledgement. It will forever be remembered as his night. If there was a conversation about Declan Rice being world class, I don't necessarily think there should have been. But if there was a conversation about how good Declan Rice is, how does Declan Rice compare to the very best in Europe, the very best in the world in his position? If that conversation did exist, it now doesn't.
I think the barometer for Declan Rice is that I very rarely hear a discussion around whether he was worth 100 million quid, even before last night.
No.
And so I think regardless of those free kicks, Declan Rice has proven himself to be a really important
that song
for
that
Arsenal.
that song that they're
fancying.
fancying.
Last night, on Tuesday night, crikey. And for me, as someone that has no sort of dog in the fight, just watching those free kicks go in, it was joy-inducing.
No.
Like, forget some of the insufferable Arsenal fans you see on social media pointing in the faces of Real Madrid fans, which is, of course, a minority, right? But, that stuff I cannot stand. But for me, it was... everybody had written Arsenal off. You weren't alone in that parish, right?
I just don't...
Everyone written them off. And Declan Rice scoring his first ever free kicks... And the type of free kicks they were, I just thought a good football won on Tuesday night.
On that occasion as well. Like, it's his first ever free kick.
Exactly.
Right, but he's doing it against the best goalkeeper in the world. 6'7", Thibaut Courtois. He's doing it against him. I know it was at the Emirates, but on some level, it's the home ground of Real Madrid. It's the knockout stage of European football. That's their bread and butter. That's where Real Madrid come alive. You're playing them at their own game. You're playing them in their own stadium on some level. And he did it there. I just cannot believe how well they did, and I'm shocked. I don't know what else. I was just so shocked that they found that sort of a performance because they were so dominant. It will be Rice. Rice will get the plaudits, but Rice was amazing. He weren't even man of the match. Rice scores those 2 goals, and he's not even man of the match.
Who's man of the match then?
I mean, it probably would go to Rice because of that, but he wasn't the best player throughout the 90 minutes. The best player I thought was Thomas Partey.
Right.
I thought Thomas Partey had them locked up. Like, I thought Saka. Do you know what's
amazed me about Saka is he's been out for 3 months and he comes back, he looks like an absolute spring chicken. I mean, that's a credit to, the way he looks after his body, the type of rehab he's done, but I just think he has hit the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant. He's so important. Do you know what? I don't think it's as extreme as this. Arsenal, what you don't say is this: Arsenal will win the Champions League because of Saka. That's not true. But I tell you what is definitely true. Arsenal couldn't win the league without Saka, and therefore Mikel Arteta has such a responsibility. Wrap him in cotton wool.
Yeah. Well, one thing Mikel Arteta has said is that Arsenal produced magic moments to beat Madrid that night. Declan Rice obviously scoring those 2 stunning free kicks before Mikel Merino, by the way, what a finish.
Yeah, it was a great goal.
Sealed the win in North London. Arteta felt they could do something special. Tell you what was so refreshing about those 2 free kicks, other than just how world-class they were, was that clearly there was an instruction from the famed Arsenal set-piece coach, who obviously wants to be the sort of main character at Arsenal there. There were clear instructions for the ball to be put into the box. What I love about that, especially off the back of Gary Neville's sort of post-Manchester Derby comments about players being overcoached, football becoming robotic. By the way, of which I subscribe to a lot of that. I think that a lot of what he's saying is true. It was so refreshing to hear as well post-match that Bukayo Saka said to Rice, if you're feeling it, Declan, go for it. And he did. And it's those moments that
impulsive.
And that's what I think we're missing maybe in a sometimes sanitised game.
But I can't believe that he took the punt. Like, if you are gonna have that conversation and go, look, we've been working all week on me chipping this into the box. We're going to the back post. We're aiming for whoever it is. We're hoping that Timber's going to come in on this or whatever. If that's your instruction, but you go, I actually fancy a shot here. I can't believe that you do that against Real Madrid, against the best goalkeeper in the world. It's so impressive from Rice to take that on, because it's basically impossible to score from there. I would have said before the first one, let alone the second one. And then to do it again. Have you seen that image? There's a still image over Saliba's shoulder. Yeah. And the ball is literally the size of the... in Soccer AM. Soccer AM used to do that box in the top corner.
Yeah, top bin.
It's that.
Yeah. Nor is it touching either the crossbar or the post. It's perfectly postage stamp free kick. It was completely magic moments. And as well, he's been sort of brilliant on corners whenever I've seen him take corners, but he's not on them all the time. And so you just sort of think, because Arsenal have been so successful at set pieces, why isn't he taking more corners? Why isn't he more of an integral part of their set pieces? And do you think, Rory, that we'll see him taking free kicks more often off the back of that? Or do you think it's just one of those moments for him? You
know what could end up happening? Do you remember when Cristiano Ronaldo scored like a P? I think he scored a great one actually at the Emirates against Arsenal in the Champions League. Cristiano Ronaldo and I took a lot of free kicks off the back of scoring some good ones, Portsmouth and whatever else, and missed them. I don't think that Arsenal should change much. Like if he fancies it, go for it. But it doesn't have to become your tactic just because it's worked in the past. Like, having a little bit of variety around those situations, I think is a very positive thing and makes life very difficult for opponents.
I briefly mentioned it, but I think we've got to give Mikel Merino his flowers.
Good finish, man.
And by the way, we're talking about an Arsenal side, Rory, that do not have a recognised striker. That's a wider context of them beating Real Madrid 3-0. Even if they had Victor Gyökeres up top or Ollie Watkins up top or whatever, it'd be amazing. But they've done it without a striker, and that finish from Merino. Yeah, do you think Kai Havertz would score that?
No, of course he wouldn't. It was a great instinctive finish. But I actually think the lesson for Arsenal is to go and buy someone that costs a fortune up front. I think that's the lesson from this, because what happened? Declan Rice was the £100 million player. The reason why Declan Rice cost the big bucks is because he can do things like that, and there's no jeopardy. Declan Rice was as proven as you can possibly be when they signed him. I think that's what they need to do. They need to learn from the Rice signing and go, do you know what? The reason why we're going to go through is because of those two Declan Rice goals. What we need to do is adopt that policy, best in class, up top, and best in class up front. I don't think it is Gyökeres. I think that Arsenal, off the back of that Real Madrid battering, should actually now be making a real statement centre-forward signing to go to the next level, which is the Premier League.
Who do you think that is for them?
I think the bid, whether they could get him or not, I don't know. But, the desire, it should be really test Newcastle United's resolve for Alexander Isak. Test Alexander Isak's resolve for staying, because once he says he wants to leave, it's very difficult for Newcastle United to keep hold of him.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.